Welcome, everyone. Good to see you today. My name is Jim Haggerty. I'm the president of the Regional Better Business Bureau. We're sure glad that you all showed up for the program today. We've got a great program put together for you today, and we're going to be talking about all the different ways that businesses can be compromised through email phishing attacks. Recent research and reports by fraud experts from across the country show that phishing attacks striking businesses are exponentially increasing in both frequency and sophistication, presenting a significant threat. It's critical that all companies, both large and small, know how to spot some of the most common phishing scams if they hope to protect their business, its information, and its reputation. And there's some eye-popping numbers that came out of an FBI report last year stating that business email compromises alone, this single scheme, were a $3.1 billion scam. So this is an incredibly lucrative line of business for the organized crime groups that perpetrate these schemes. So it's evident that cyber criminals continue to sharpen their hacking skills, and businesses need to take stronger precautions to protect their information and all of their connected devices. No business or consumer is immune from phishing attacks. And I can tell you personally that I have spoken to a multitude of businesses right here in our community that have been the subjects of these attacks. We've seen losses that have ranged just in our metropolitan area from tens of thousands of dollars all the way up into the tens of millions of dollars in some very, very elaborate socially engineered schemes. Today's program was made possible by our Better Business Bureau Foundation. Also, we've got some fantastic sponsors that are helping us bring programming to you today: Great Western Bank, McKinnis Inc., and of course the Omaha World Herold. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to get this on your agendas. And I also want to acknowledge a special guest that we have with us here today, Mary Power, who is the CEO of the Council of Better Business Bureaus in DC, is visiting our bureau today. And Mary, would you stand up, and we'd like to welcome you. And now it's my pleasure to present Ron Warner, who acquainted us with our guest speaker, Rebecca Herold. Ron's been sort of our MC for our cybersecurity events because, unlike me, he knows all of the right questions to ask. Ron is a member of BBB's Community Business Programming Committee. He lends his expertise to us on a regular basis, and in his own right, Ron is a noted speaker and writer in the security industry. He has over 25 years of IT and security experience and has established the security practices for multiple Midwest organizations. He writes for CSOonline.com, IBM Security Intelligence, and the Tripwire blog. He's been a featured speaker at the RSA conference for over 10 years, and in 2016, Ron was an official state delegate at Israel's Cybertech conference and also built Bellevue University's Cybersecurity Studies program. He continues to teach there as an adjunct professor and is the information security architect for a large international hotel management company based in Omaha. So please help me welcome Ron Warner to the stage.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Fraud Summit seminar where you can learn simple steps to help protect yourself online. I'm pleased to present Rebecca Herold, our featured speaker for today's program. She's a colleague who I've known for well over a dozen years. You see, the cybersecurity and privacy communities are really rather small. We get to know each other and share information, and then get that information out to folks like you. Ms. Herold is based out of Des Moines, Iowa, and is the CEO and founder of The Privacy Professor. And if you're on Twitter, follow her on Twitter, Privacy Professor. Great content. It's a consulting business, and she's organizations in a wide range of industries. Rebecca is well known and respected in her field. Some of her awards and recognitions include being named one of the best privacy advisors in the world multiple times in recent years by Computerworld magazine, and also selected as a top 59 influencer in IT security in 2007. Additionally, in 2008, Rebecca's blog was chosen as one of the top 50 internet security blogs by the Daily Medicine. In 1998, the information security program Ms. Herold created for Principal Financial Group, where she worked for 12 years, received the CSI Information Security Program of the Year Award. Rebecca is also a member of several advisory boards, including the prestigious Editorial Advisory Board for Elsewhere's Computers and Security Journal, and appears regularly on KCW 123 morning television program. Rebecca assists organizations of all sizes and industries throughout the world with information privacy, security, and regulatory compliance programs, content development, strategy development, and implementation. She has also been an adjunct professor for Norwich University's Master of Science in Information Assurance program since 2004. Please join me in welcoming Rebecca Herold to Omaha.
Great. So I'm so happy to be with you here today to talk about really what is probably the most common, most widespread type of cyber attack that exists, not only now, but it's been around for a very long time, and that is phishing. And phishing is something that is not something that just goes after certain types of folks. You know, as you heard earlier, phishing goes after anyone. It goes after businesses, the cyber crooks that use phishing. It goes after consumers all the time. It goes after children. And I'm going to hit upon a couple of the phishing attacks right now that are going after different types of kids and teens that you really need to know about. So if you are online and have any type of email address or any type of user ID, you are a target by any of the literally hundreds of thousands of cyber crooks out there that know that phishing is effective to get them the data that they want to commit their crimes. Now, it was mentioned that I do have a couple of businesses, and one of them involves doing different types of valuations for organizations. And so earlier this year, for International Data Privacy Day, which is on January 28th, why don't I take a part of my business platform and put something out there for the whole world to use so you can help to see how well you're doing in a few different areas with your own personal privacy. So I believe that each of you received a link to my personal privacy risk level evaluation. Hopefully you were able to go there and take it. It was 9 questions and 3 different topics. So I'm wondering, did any of you get 100% of the questions correct? No one got 100% at the Privacy Guru? Go ahead and raise your hand if you did. I mean, that's fine. How about, did any of you miss just 1? Any of you missed 2? Oh, I'm going to give you a lot more information down today, know that. No? Well, how many of you missed only 4? Did anybody take it? Well, I was going to give a free copy back to whoever got the highest score. So, Ron, I'll leave it to you to determine who you saw to raise their hand.
Someone who took it.
So, if you haven't had a chance yet to go take it, please do, because I tried to make it so that not only you can tell maybe where you need to raise your awareness a little bit, not only for your business, but for your personal life, to see how you can better protect your own personal information. But also then I gave you some tips after each question to help you to improve upon that. So one of the topics that covered was phishing. So what is phishing? Well, phishing is a type of social engineering that is done online in a very wide range of ways. And I'm going to talk about the different ways. My focus today is going to be on email, but certainly there are many other ways to do phishing. So phishing is a type of social engineering attack. Now, social engineering is when you have someone that tries to influence your actions, tries to influence how you think, influence what type of information you divulge to them or give to them. So they're folks that are trying to make you do activities that will be to their benefit. So when we're talking about phishing, we're talking about the cyber crooks who are trying to get you to give them things such as your user ID and password. Or maybe they're trying to get you to click on a link so you'll go to a website and then download some sort of code that will give them access to all of your data on your computer. Or maybe they want to load some code on your computer so that it will lock it up and encrypt it, and that's called ransomware. Some of you have probably heard of ransomware before. And then they're going to try to get some sort of money from you to unlock your laptop or your computer. You know, phishers even use your different types of computers to do distributed denial of service attacks, or DDoS. If you've heard of DDoS attacks, that's basically where the crooks are loading code onto thousands of different types of computer devices, and usually you don't even know that this code has been loaded onto your computer system, but then they use your different computer systems then to launch an attack on someone else and overwhelm them with all of the different activity that's coming into it. So, you know, phishers, the cyber crooks that use phishing, are really looking to do a very wide variety of bad things and to get them data and to get them information they can use for identity fraud. Now, social engineering is a part of another type of science, and there's a more scientific name for social engineering. It actually has about 3 different words for it. Does anyone know what the more scientific name for social engineering is? Now, I know there's some ringers in here that know this. This is something you can go on to Jeopardy with, and you might be able to answer a question with this. Well, it's neuro-linguistic programming. Doesn't that sound cool? Neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. So, neuro-linguistic programming is the science of being able to manipulate others and get them to do what you want them to do, such as giving you information. So keep that in mind. You can go back and wow your family and friends with that little tidbit over supper tonight. So let's look at some more trends and statistics. I mean, some of these numbers blow my mind because, as was mentioned before, phishing is growing. Why is it growing? It's because we're getting more and more computers. I mean, at one time, folks just felt good to have one computing device, right? Well, now different research shows that the average person has 3 different types of computing devices. They have smartphones, they have a laptop, they have a tablet. So there's all types of computing devices that have all this valuable data that cyber crooks want to get to, and they know that they can get to it using phishing attacks. So think about just emails. Think about how many emails you get every day. Research has shown, and this is from Gartner, that 1 in every 4,500 emails is a phishing attack. And if you think, well, 1 out of 4,500, that's just a pretty small percentage, isn't it? Well, think about how many emails are sent daily. 259 billion emails are sent daily. We're get between 800 to 1,000 email messages. Now, all that spam stuff, I am usually pretty good at getting into my spam filter, but still, a lot of that email you still have to go through, and a lot of it looks very important. And that's what the fishers that are using email want to think about. So think about it, there's almost 60 million phishing messages that are going out every single day. And you might be thinking, well shoot, that's worldwide, so why do we have to worry about it? It's pretty diluted here, right? Well, the crooks know that people in the United States fall for phishing, in fact, more than any other country or all the other countries combined. So the U.S. receives 81% more phishing attacks than the rest of the entire world. Why? Because we give them our information, we give them our data, we give them stuff that gives them a lot of money. Now, I wanted to point out too that there are these 5 different categories of organizations that are often targeted, but keep in mind these are for the business side. If you're a consumer, and all of you are consumers as well, you're still a good target that the crooks are going after. So 91% of the phishing crooks are going to go after financial institutions. So any of you work at a financial institution? Yeah, they're going to come after you. And why? Well, if you work in a financial institution, if they can get into your network, they're going to find a lot of really juicy, valuable data that they can do stuff with. Also, they're going after cloud storage and file hosting services. So any of you use services such as Dropbox, Box, other types of services that store your photos, store your videos, store backups. Why would the phishing folks go after the people that work at those organizations? Because of all that data, right? They know that a lot of people put very valuable information into the cloud. They put information including their financial documents that they use each year for doing their tax returns. They put information that has a lot of personal information items in it, medical records, and so on. So they're going after cloud and file hosting services. And of course, webmail. I mean, anyone using Gmail and Yahoo and all the other types of free email services, they're going after them. And you've probably seen a lot of them in the news as well. And then, of course, payment services. Payment services are a favorite because guess what? They have information with social security numbers, with credit card numbers, with bank numbers. There's a lot that the crooks can do with those. And then, of course, e-commerce companies, because e-commerce has all the payment information, and they also have valuable information about the purchases that people are making. So what happens when you collect a lot of information that shows what people like to buy? Well, that information becomes valuable to marketers. A lot of the phishers, the cyber crooks that use phishing, collect all this data up, and then they actually package it and sell it to other companies, representing themselves as a marketing research company. So a lot of legitimate companies I found have actually purchased information that was gathered during phishing types of attacks. So it keeps increasing, and if you notice in my little cloud bubble there, health data is something that's rapidly rising. Right now, health data is worth right around 10 times as much as other types of data, even financial data, because there's so much you can do with health data. You can sell it to researchers, you can sell it to marketers, you can sell it to insurance companies, you can sell it to government agencies, you can give it to other countries. You can also sell it on the dark web and through the dark web, and that's a whole other topic. If you haven't heard of that before, do a search on it when you get home. It's kind of scary when you look at it, but there's a lot of information there about how people are selling medical records on the dark web in addition to insurance types of information to allow for medical identity identity theft. That's a growing problem as well. So phishing is just increasing as you get more and more types of computing devices. You're going to see more types of phishing occurring. And, like I mentioned, it's nothing new. The very first type of concept for phishing was first identified in 1987. Think about that. Those of you that were even born in 1987. Back then, why an HP working group, they were talking about, I wonder what we could do with this new type of online activity. We could probably fool people, couldn't we? Yeah, that might be something kind of fun to do. Well then guess what? In 1994, when AOL, any of you use AOL online with the yeah, I have that tone in my head for the rest of my life, I think, when you're connecting by modem anyway. In 1994, there started to be actual criminal activity through the AOL online accounts because people figured out that they could actually fool people into giving them their IDs and passwords through the messages that they were sharing on AOL. So it's branched out greatly since then. Now, phishing is done through different types of Internet of Things devices. There have actually been through messaging, text messaging on smart refrigerators, different types of attacks that have done phishing where they had the people that use the smart refrigerators to give them information to get access into the refrigerator. And once they did, they loaded a lot of distributed denial of service software onto them. There have actually been some very huge successful DDoS attacks on different internet service providers through refrigerators, closed-circuit TVs, your different types of smart TVs, and so on. So when we're talking about all the different damage that can be done, don't think about just your traditional laptop. It goes way out there to anything that's a computing device. Now, one of the things I talked about earlier was ransomware. Ransomware is growing too. Why is it growing? Well, it's growing because crooks are getting a ton of money from it. I mean, if you look at the statistics, businesses are actually more likely to pay ransomware to get the crooks to unencrypt their data than even consumers are. And it's kind of sad too, because if you're a business, one of the things you really need to make sure that you do on a consistent basis is make a full backup of all of your information, your business information. Too many organizations, and I have a lot of my SIMAS clients when they first came on, I'd ask them, well, when did you do your last backup? And they'd say, let's see, I think we made one this year. And it's like, let's start doing that more often, because if you get hit with ransomware and you don't have your recent data, you're going to pay a lot of money to get that data back. If you have a recent backup, you can say, go fly a kite, because I'll just restore it with all my backups that I have. But ransomware is something that phishers love to use. 70% of businesses are impacted by ransomware, and just think about this. Half of those that are impacted have paid over $10,000 to get their data back. And if you're a small or mid-sized business, $10,000 takes a big bite out of your revenue. So you really need to make sure that you stay aware of these phishing attacks that are going to try to get into your computer system, encrypt your data, and then ask you to pay them a lot of money to decrypt it. Also, consumers are a little bit more wary. And I think, too, it's because consumers, I found, are starting to use more types of automated backup systems to make sure that they do have copies of their important files. But with regard to consumers, they are more motivated to pay when ransomware hits if it's taking something that is very near and dear to them, like photos or videos of special times or your tax returns. You need to have your tax returns. So it's something that you need to make sure that you make very frequent backups in case you do fall for phishing. Now, phishing attempts need to stay aware of the different aspects and the different signs of phishing as you're online. So we're going to talk about email in great detail, but I did want to point out that it's not just email though, it's also phone. There's increasing numbers of phone phishing attacks where people will call you up and try to get you to do different things. For instance, I've made several recordings of different folks calling me and saying that they are from the computer security company. They usually say something that's really vague, and that I have a virus on my computer, and so they try to get me to a website so that they can get onto my computer and fix it. Have any of you gotten a call like that claiming to be from tech support type of folks? Yeah, I mean, it's really widespread, and it's really interesting when you start asking questions. I know Ron mentioned that I do the morning show over in Des Moines about once or twice a month, and the hosts there, they've been hit by some, and one of the hosts said, you know, I had a guy call, and he said he was, when I asked him, well, what company are you with? He said, well, I'm with the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web is not a company, but, you know, it was kind of interesting to hear what they would come up with when they're trying to do this. So you need to stay aware of this with the phone. Also, police, they will oftentimes pretend like they're from the police, or the IRS. This is going on really frequently right now. They'll call and say that you owe money and you need to pay right now, or they're going to put a lien on your property, or they're going to send the police after you. And oh, by the way, why don't you just go ahead and get us card, a money card, or wire it to us, and we can take care of it, and then you don't have to worry about this. And the sad thing is, a lot of people fall for that because they get scared when they hear that. Also, voicemail. There are a lot of phishing attempts where people will call up, and have you ever gotten a call on your cell phone or any phone, and when you answer it, they hang up or nobody's there? Well, oftentimes, the crooks are trying to figure out if somebody's going to be at that phone number. A lot of times they're just using an auto dialer to go through and find out which phone numbers are legitimate. And then once they find the ones that people have answered on, they'll go back and they'll call and leave a message. Oftentimes it's at weird times of the day when they know you won't be there. And then they make it sound very official so that you will go out to a website and do something, or call up someone else and give information in a way that leads to their crime. Websites, and I'm going to show you how website is used with email here in a little bit, but a lot of fake websites are being put up that look very legitimate. So you need to be careful when you're going out. Maybe you make a typo when you're doing typing in the address to go to a website. You might leave out the O and the .com, so you do .cn. There's a lot of bogus websites out there that have .cns on them that are set up to look exactly like a legitimate website, but when they ask for your user ID and password, the crooks are getting it when you enter that. So you need to make sure you be aware of the website. Then through texting. There's a lot of texting going on that is related to, hey, click a link here, you know, there's something really cool. Sometimes it looks like it's coming from someone you know. Sometimes it looks like it's coming from someone official. But you have to stay aware of texting, and then also social media. If someone is posting something on their timeline on Facebook and it's something uncharacteristic, but hey, it's your friend, right? And your friend's saying, here, click here, and it's a really cool site. You know, these kittens are doing wonderful tricks like you've never seen before. And then you go there and boom, your computer's owned because somebody either spoofed your friend, there's a lot of that going on, or they were able to get into your friend's account and post on their behalf. So you need to know that there's a lot more than just email. But today, I want to go over some very significant email threats that are out there and scams that are going on. So a few terms that you may not have heard before, or maybe you've heard of them, but you weren't really quite sure what they meant. So when we're talking about phishing, sometimes you'll hear the term spear phishing. What does spear phishing mean? Well, spear phishing basically means that there is a very specific person that's targeted that the cyber crooks want to get to and want to get information from, because that person or maybe that very specific group has some information that would be very valuable to them. So a very good example of a successful spear phishing attack that occurred last year during the elections was with John Podesta. He basically fell for a phishing email, and as a result, thought he was going out and verifying or changing his password for his email provider, when he in fact was giving his ID and password to the crooks. And then you know what happened after that. I mean, if you have your TV on even 10 minutes a day, you hear about what they did after they found his information, was able to go out and get to lots of other types of data. So he was a victim of spear phishing. Now, for another type of phishing, it's called whaling, and I don't have it here. But whaling means that they're going after someone who's in a position of power. So maybe they're going after the CEO, or they're going after the owner of a company, and they want to get access to that person's email account, or maybe they want to get information from their account so they can launch different types of phishing attacks using that and pretending to be that person in power. And there's a very common phishing attack that's going on right now that has used whaling, so I'll get into that. This next one, called farming, you don't really hear that one much, but you still hear it now and then, and I have to kind of laugh about that because, you know, I was born and raised in a farming family, and then my husband has farmed for his entire life, so when we hear about farming, it's like, yeah, see, there's a crossover between farming and farming here in that way. But farming just means you're going out there and trying to get anybody that you can to give you information. Because any type of valid, actual personal information has money value for the crooks. They can use that in one way or another. So talking about whaling, this one is just so widespread right now. The IRS W-2 tax scam. And I know the BBB has out on their website a lot of good information about this. But what is scary is so many people are falling for this, and it's very tricky. Because what the crooks will do is oftentimes they'll send a message and it looks like it's coming from the owner of the company or the CEO of the company, and they use whaling oftentimes to get the actual email address and password of that person who's an executive. So they'll push out an email to someone then using spear phishing, meaning they're targeting like the accounting department or the HR department, and they will send a message saying, hey, I need to have a list of all of our employees and all of their actual tax information because I need to get this report filled before the end of the day. They have a sense of urgency about it. So a lot of companies and a lot of schools and a lot of government agencies have actually fallen for this IRS W-2 scam. These are just a couple of examples of how it comes through. Sometimes it comes through as an actual email message and it says, hey, send me a PDF of it. Sometimes it'll have like a zip container, and always be suspicious when you see a zip container on any email address, but it'll have a zip container, and when you click on the zip container to get the report that you need to fill out, that your boss is telling you to fill out, it'll actually then load malware on your computer, and then it will also provide you with the forms to conveniently give all of this personal information to the crooks. So these are a couple of actual situations that occurred. schools are often targeted with this W-2 scam. In fact, this is an example of one that was hit by the W-2 IRS scam here just recently. It was a school where a public school system that actually ended up giving out information of 120,000 individuals, and they found somewhere between, it wasn't a large number before they found it, but so far, around 19 to 20 people have found that their actual personal information and accounts have been used for identity fraud from this one W-2 form, the IRS W-2 tax scam. What's important to remember though, just because there's only been 19 or 20 so far doesn't mean that you're free and clear that they aren't going to do anything else with it. Oftentimes, the cyber crooks will wait. They're very patient because if they're already getting a lot of other victims through other methods, they're like, oh, we can wait 6 months, a year, 2 years. They'll wait, and then they'll have that information that they stole, and they'll do their crime a year or two later when the folks who knows that they had their information stolen and they were on high alert after they heard about it, they're, they'll not be as aware anymore after 2 years, and then they'll be hit then. So always keep in mind, just because you haven't gotten any bad things that have happened to you right after a breach, it doesn't mean that bad things won't happen later on if your information is still the same. The Amazon phishing scam, that's really popular right now. Any of you get hit with the Amazon scam? A few of you? I know I've gotten, I've got to admit that Amazon Prime, gosh, that's so convenient. So, I get Amazon messages, and because I do a lot of my shopping, when you see one, you think, oh, well, what did I do? Did I, make a mistake in an order I made? Do I need to re-enter my credit card? Well, yeah, maybe it's time it expires, so I need to actually re-enter it. Well, when you're looking at these different types of emails that come in, you definitely need to look at a few things in that message. So one of the things you need to look at is look at who it's coming from. Now, when you look at this, what do you see about that email address? Typically, you want to look after the @ sign, the little A with the circle around it. Look after that and see, well, does that look like it's a valid email address? When you look at the one on the left side of the screen, notice what it has written there. It has no leading A, right? It just says MazonCanada.ca. So what the crooks will do is they will actually create different domains that look very, very similar to valid ones, and that's what they will use to send out these email addresses. Then also, if you look at the rest of the information, they're sending it to a kind of weird-looking email address, right? I mean, they're sending you an email, and if you've used Amazon before, oftentimes they'll use your actual email address. Well, in this one, it's a kind of odd-looking email address, so it's like, oh, okay, why are they sending me a message to tell me specifically to do something, but they're not putting my email address in the to line? So that's something else to look for. And then if they truly are wanting you to do something, why are they not using your actual name? They're just saying, dear client. Well, that's kind of impersonal, isn't it? They like to personalize everything. If you're with an organization that sends out emails to your customer, you want to use their name. So that's another sign. Now, here's a really good sign. If there's any place within the email message that you receive that has a link in it, and be careful because some of your mouses have very sensitive buttons. But oftentimes, if you hover your mouse over the link, don't click, hover, and the actual address, the URL that pops up and it shows where it's going, if it goes to a completely different, weird type of site, don't click it. That means that they're trying to take you somewhere that's not associated with that legitimate organization. If it's a legitimate organization, you'll see Amazon.com when you hover over it. Also, if you look at the front line on the one on the right, you'll notice that it's from Amazon.com. And that's another thing. If you are a legitimate customer of theirs, you'll know that that's not the way that they put the from sign of information on their emails. And also, look for misspellings. Now, there are some cyber crooks out there who are good spellers, so that, just because everything's spelled okay and has good grammar doesn't mean it's legitimate, but an overwhelming large proportion of cyber crooks are really horrible spellers. They don't know how to put the different types of punctuation into the message correctly. If you see something and there's spelling errors all over the place, different types of spacing problems, well, that's something that's another tip-off that it's a scam. Here's one that is very current, and it's tricked a lot of people. This is the Gmail scam. So this will be when you receive a message from Gmail and they say, and this is one that, it seems legitimate. Well, somebody's tried to log into your account too many times and your account is locked. So just go here to our site and enter your user ID and your legitimate password, and we'll get your password reset. This will pop up, especially on a smartphone. That looks really real. I mean, the cyber crooks, sometimes they spend a lot of time actually trying to make things look legitimate. So once you enter your actual ID and password into that, they've got your Gmail account. And with that, they can get into your account, they can send out messages to other people through the whaling types of targets and so on. So be aware of Gmail. I mean, how many of you in here use Gmail? Do most of you? Oh yeah, see it's popular. So Gmail is something that they know a lot of people use it, so they're going to fall for this. So be aware if you get a message that says you need to change your account password. Now, with Washington University School of Medicine, any healthcare organization is really starting to get targeted more and more because, like I said, patient data is worth a lot of money. They can resell it on the dark web and make a ton of money off of it. So this is just one example of how Washington University fell for a phishing scam, but look how long it took before they realized that someone fell for that phishing scam. So basically the crooks had 2 months to take the information that they got through phishing and collect even more data with it, maybe inject other types of code onto an unknown number of other computer systems so that they could do ransomware, or they could launch DDoS attacks and so on. And then, as a result of this successful phishing attack, there was a lot of patient information that was stolen. So this is one that's going on right now with healthcare. Keep in mind that your kids are also targets. World of Warcraft and other types of games currently have a lot of phishing attacks. Now, if you're like me, when my kids were born in 97 and 99, and they basically grew up with computers being online, and one of the first networks that they got into and liked to use was like the Disney online network, and there's one with penguins, I forget which, but they communicated with the children a lot. And what was popular with kids when they're on these different types of games? The different cheats, right? Oh, you want to know a cheat to be able to do this type of activity online? So a lot of phishing will go on with kids in these online games, offering to give them help with how to score higher, or help them to actually talk with somebody who might be the star of the community. Once they get that, then they start using your children's information, oftentimes that's in their actual profile, and they can actually sell that information again on the dark web to a very wide range of criminals who are interested in children and also where they're located and other characteristics about them. The World of Warcraft one is one going on. Now this one, oh man, there's so many teens right now falling for this one. Have any of you heard of the Instagram ugly list? It's fairly new, but it's insidious because, you know, when kids are teens, they're taking a lot of selfies, right? And they want to look good, and they practice posing for their selfies and putting them out there. Well, this scam basically says, oh, there's a website called the Ugly List. And if you get on the Ugly List, there's a message sent to the teens, and it'll say, and you know, they can find the teens' email addresses on Instagram and other Facebook and so on. But they'll say, oh, guess what? You made the Ugly List. Click here. And when they click there, they'll take their information, they'll load ransomware and make them pay to get it back. And teens have been the targets of ransomware because what's on the teens' computer systems? All their photos they've taken, right? So then they figure out how to get that. But what's mean about this is it's a really good example of social engineering because it's really taking advantage of teens and how they care for their appearance and want to be popular and so on. So they're going to fall for it right away. So make sure if you have any teens or preteens even, make sure they know about that. So here are a few clues. When you're getting emails, these are a few clues that it might be a phishing email. Maybe it's a message and they're speaking to you in a way that seems very familiar, but you know, you don't recognize the sender. Now, there's one, the one I show here, noreply@admin.com. Now that one I recognize a lot because that's used in a very wide range of phishing messages. In fact, if you do a search for noreply@admin.com, you'll notice that there's close to 500,000 hits on that particular search item because phishers just love to use that. People are gullible. They see that admin.com and they think, oh, well, this is official because it's from an admin. So just because it says admin, don't think that it's actually legitimate. Also, if you are looking at the message, it might be an invalid email address. It might be one that doesn't even make sense at all the way it's formatted, you know, with the typical @ sign in the middle and then with the domain on the right side of the @ sign. Also, and this doesn't always mean that it's phishing, but because the different free email systems have been hacked so many times and so many crooks have those, if you're getting an email from someone telling you to go out and go to a website, just click here and we'll verify your information or whatever, if it's from Hotmail, if it's from Yahoo, if it's from any of the other common free email addresses and they're asking you for your personal information or they're asking you to go to a website, just, you know, before you click anything, just wait a little bit and think, now this seems weird that they would be sending me a message like this from a free email account like Yahoo. So keep your guard up for that. This one I love, and this one is used a lot. They're sending you a message with very important information about your account and needing to make sure that your details are just accurate. You need to correct them, but yet they're sending it to undisclosed recipients. If you're getting a message from someone and it's from Amazon or it's from your bank or it's from the FBI or it's from the IRS and it's being sent to undisclosed recipients, that is a big red flag. Don't fall for that. Also, if they don't use your name, they'll oftentimes just say hello or, you know, hi dear, and that's used a lot. I think that's kind of weird, hi dear, but that's put in a lot of those phishing types of messages. And then also, they'll use a very urgent tone. Do this right now. Make sure you respond quickly, or we might have to penalize you monetarily, or we might have to put out a police warrant on your behalf. If it's a sense of urgency, that's a big sign that there's something going on. Also, in this one, these are some, when I'm showing you these examples, these are some of my own emails that I've received. I like to save all of my phishing messages because I get some really weird ones. But you'll see they have inconsistent capitalization within their message. They don't have anybody in the to line. And oh look, they conveniently attached a PDF for me to use. Oh, there's a red flag. If you see a PDF on these types of messages, don't open it. If you open it, oftentimes that launches something bad happening to your computer. Or it might be from somebody that you have no reason to think, why are they sending me something from Brazil? I've never asked for anything from Brazil, especially why would somebody from Brazil be making a donation to me? I mean, I'd be kind of flattered, oh great, I might be getting $1 million worth of something from a long lost relative, but it's highly unlikely. So be aware of those types of messages. Spelling errors, grammatical errors, all of those are very big red flags. Odd formatting, and again, hover your mouse over the links to see what the actual URL is that it's going to be going to. That is a big sign. Now, this is one that you might actually recognize the sender, but it might be referencing something you don't recall. When Yahoo had all of their huge hacks and all of their email addresses were stolen and so on, we saw a big surge in phishing messages being sent to people who were in the contact lists for those people whose emails were obtained. So I've actually gotten a ton of emails from legitimate email addresses from my friends and acquaintances, but I can tell, it's like, this is weird, this doesn't sound like something, and this is an example one. I have a friend, her name's Renee, and it's like, well, Renee would never write her name like that in all lowercase, and I know that that's not her email address, and then why would she be pointing me to some weird URL with, about kennels, apparently. If you get something that looks like it's from someone you know, pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, did you just send me an email? Because I got something kind of weird from you, but I don't want to click on it until I find out that you actually did send it. Who knows, maybe they sent you something kind of weird and out of the ordinary. But play it safe and give them a call. It's a good opportunity for you to talk anyway. You have it for a while, right? Or maybe they're making promises. If you get an email and they're making some ridiculous types of promise about wealth and great income that you've never seen before, that's a red flag there. Or threats. Now, I've gotten a lot of threatening ones before, and I finished this slide set before I found some really good ones, but not only do you get threats from people who claim to be from the police and that actually are saying, well, we're going, we found all these unpaid parking tickets or speeding tickets, and we're going to put a warrant out to your arrest if you don't wire us this much money. And it's like, well, I'm pretty conservative when it's driving. I know I've never gotten tickets, so those I know was something that was not legitimate to begin with. But if it's something threatening like that, watch out. I've even gotten in the last 5 years too that said such things, and maybe some of you've gotten these too, but they are scary. They actually said, we know where you live, and if you don't give us this much money, we're going to come to your house and we're going to kill you. And so it's like, well, when I get these, it's kind of like, I do some of these events and I do these TV things, and you get some weird messages sometimes. But that is when you see that, don't fall for it. Now, that kind of message, a lot of people would get really scared by that and then pay the person that sent it, right? But if you get something like that, get your police involved or get the FBI involved. You can actually go out onto the FTC site, on their online site, and there's a way that you can submit a report of this type of activity, and you'll get somebody to help you with it. But just because they give some actual characteristics about you and make a physical threat like that, just think, okay, how do they know this information? Oh my goodness, well, are you on social media? Is this information available publicly on your account? Or did somebody else put information about you on their account that's publicly available? Crooks and phishers are doing this a lot. They'll go out to social media and they'll scrape off all the information they can find, and they will use that information within these type of threatening messages to send to their targeted victims, because they know that having these types of what seems like very intimate details that nobody else should know about are very effective to get people to pay them a ton of money. So how do you keep from getting phishing emails? Well, unfortunately, the only way to not get a phishing email is to not use email or go online. So that's something that for the majority of the population is just not possible anymore. So that's why it's so important to be aware. Now, you definitely need to keep your anti-malware software up to date, because a lot of that software will look for characteristics in your incoming email. So it will be able to spot if they're, on some of them, if this is going to be a phishing attempt, especially like with the IRS W-2 phishing attempts. A lot of anti-malware software is now looking for characteristics that this might be that type of attack. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to catch it all, though, but at least if it can take those types of email out of your inbox and put it in your spam folder or somewhere else, that's a good thing. So make sure that you keep your anti-malware and security tools up to date. Make sure your kids do too, because I don't know about you, but I'm always reminding my sons to make sure that they keep their auto update on there, even if it does interfere with something that they're doing at an inopportune time. Tough luck. Make sure you keep that updated, because that protects your computer and it protects yourself. Also, if you're worried about phishing, don't use your business email out there for doing non-business things. And really, you shouldn't do that anyway, because that opens up a lot of other risks to not only your business, because now you have a business email address out there that they might be using, but it also, creates risk of you having information in your email that you use for business that might not be completely in compliance with the policies for your business with regard to the types of personal information you might be sharing with your friends and family and so on. So don't put your business email out there. Are all of you on LinkedIn? Several of you? I've noticed there's been a trend in some research from a group that I'm a part of. It's IANS research, IANS. They found that on LinkedIn, it's a trend to now have folks not use their business address, even though LinkedIn is a professional social networking site. A lot of businesses now are making a policy that says if you're out on LinkedIn, do not use your business email address within your LinkedIn profile. That way, it's not out there so it can be publicly seen by, I don't know how many people are on LinkedIn now, but I think it's well over 1 million, probably several million. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, what I like to do is I call them throwaway email addresses. So let's say you want to go and a pop-up window comes up and it says, well, before you can see our really interesting report, you have to give us your user ID and password to download it. So I have about half a dozen Yahoo and Hotmail email addresses. That's what I use those for. I only use them if I want to get to information on websites that I don't want to have to worry about those email addresses being used for business or even personal communications with others. So that's something, if you feel you need to give your user ID and password so you can get, a birthday discount the next time you go to Walgreens, or you want to have some sort of other goodie from some online retailer that you do business with, go ahead and do that. But that way, what else is good about that is a lot of phishing goes to that email address. And if you aren't ever actually going into that email and looking at it anyway, you will be tempted if you know that it's just a throwaway type of email address. Here's something too I think is very important, because a lot of people think, well, if there is a website and it starts with HTTPS, and that means that it's a secure or encrypted website, right? Then it must be safe, it must be legitimate. Well, guess what? It's really easy now for the crooks to be able to establish a secure website that will load malware onto your computer. So just because you see a URL and it has HTTPS at the beginning, don't assume that that is a sign that it's legitimate. The criminals know that people will fall for things more quickly if they see the HTTPS. So keep that in mind. And then very importantly, just be aware of all that's going on. I mean, another couple of scams that have hit me a lot. I know you guys have Costco here in Omaha area, right? And yeah, we have Costco in Moines, so we're a long-time member of it. So, getting Costco emails all the time. Well, in the past year, I've had phishing attempts looking like very legitimate Costco messages. They have it right down to the logo is perfect and everything else is perfect. There's a lot of Costco phishing messages out there that's being sent, so watch out for that. Also, gotten in the last year a couple of times an IRS, not advisory group. It's really a weird message. It looks like it's coming from the IRS, but the URL is a little wacky. It's not what the IRS would really use. But they're like, well, we want you to be on our advisory board to tell us how we can do our messages better to make them so they don't look so much, like phishing messages. Crooks are going to try to pretend that they're a security type of message so that you're like, yes, I want to help make people more secure. I want to be involved so I can share my knowledge and help others to know how to prevent from falling for phishing. So that was just a brilliant social engineering type of scam, because they're going to try to bring you in, hook you and bring you in by making you think that they're doing security research. So watch out for those as well. Any of you in here have any examples of phishing messages that you've gotten that you think it would be good to let others know about? Yeah, there. I think you might have a microphone. Right over here. Yeah, he's sitting right over there. Oh, there. Okay, great. Yeah, this is really helpful. If you have something that's happened to you, let the others know so they can keep an eye out for them too.
I just got a phone message on my answering machine from Microsoft, and they gave an 800-555 number, and I just got off the phone with Microsoft 2 months ago from buying a product from them. So I thought, well, that number didn't sound right, so I went and called the number I knew. I asked him, I said, is this your number? He says, no. So
that's good. So you actually called a different number than the one they told you to call.
that's correct. And then Microsoft had me fill out a form, and then they also told me to go ahead to the Attorney General and fill out their form.
Excellent. That's the encourage folks. I mean, sometimes people don't want to report these to others, but it's still so very helpful for them. So a lot of times I'll report my phishing to the FBI, to the FTC, to my state attorney general, and of course the BBB has their information on their site that you can use as well. So, and I don't have a watch on, so I don't know, are we at the end of our time?
About 10 minutes left.
Oh, okay. More questions or comments? Yes.
Along with the Microsoft one, I don't know if you know, but HP has an alert out now that they're doing the same thing that Microsoft was doing. You'll get a phone call from HP saying that the product you have bought in the past needs some sort of stuff done, and they want you to give out information. A lot of, I know, probably everybody here has an HP product. And then recently my boss, I have to go through her computer to make sure she doesn't have some dog who's been popping up. And it's a notification down at the bottom of her computer, and it's wanting her to go in to verify her username and password. And the thing we noticed on it, on her, like her name up there, it left the letter off of her first letter of her last name off of it. And she's like, that's not even my email. And I go, then that's not right. So you need to delete that. We deleted it, we deactivated it, thought it was gone, and it popped up again. So
Yes, so that's good that you caught that, and deleting it is good, getting rid of it. If you actually do end up getting on the phone with someone who says that they are with the tech support, they have a really tricky way to make you think that they're actually legitimate, because they'll say, oh, go to your command line, and they'll step you through to get to your command line. Oh, do you see this particular file when you're looking in a different file, a specific file folder? And of course, on every computer, how many thousands of files are on a computer? There's a lot. And those files are what your computer is built with, so they know it. Well, what the crooks will do, they'll say, do you see this? And a lot of times it's a Kodak file, but it might be something else. Do you see a file that says such and such? And you'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, that's on my computer. Oh no, the time is short. You know, that is a very destructive file. We need to get rid of it right away. So just because they know some files on your computer, don't think that they're legitimate, because those files are on the hundreds of thousands of other computers out there that other people have like yours. So they'll use that as another trick to get you to fall for them. Oh,
A couple days ago, I got a phone call or voicemail, and I've had one of these before, and also had a legitimate call from a sheriff. So this was supposed to be some sort of law enforcement, and there was a problem, and I had to contact them right away to get this cleared up before someone came to my door. And this was all sent so rapidly, it was hard to understand. But the number was 800 number, and I'm going like, if they're here in Omaha,
yeah.
you know Omaha number. I have to have a legitimate call from the sheriff a couple years ago, and they wanted the wrong person. We didn't have a Bob Smith in our home. So I called him, he said, I can't call him, I have to, Bob Smith has a warrant out, and I have to call the number he gave me. So I got 2 more phone calls. So, but the sheriff identified himself, always,
Yes.
they have to identify themselves. And it'll be off the.
Right, and that's a good sign. I mean, they'll identify themselves. If it's from the IRS is never going to call you directly to tell you that you owe money. So if somebody says they're calling for the IRS to owe money, tell them, no, you're wrong, you're correct, and then hang up. And that's another thing. I think if you just hang up on a lot of these crooks, you'll finally drop off on a lot of their lists. In the Midwest, we grew up, we're nice, we're polite, we don't want to hang up on somebody. But you know what? It feels pretty good when you hang up on a crook. And I got to the point where if they start getting nasty with me, and some of them I like to play along just to see how far they'll go. And sometimes if I know they're crooks, I got audio of them. But this one guy was just getting really rude. So I have a whistle next to my
we've noticed in the contacts that we've had from businesses that have gone through the business email compromise issue. So their bookkeeper gets one of these emails from who they believe is the CEO requesting copies of all of the employees' W-2s, but a local company that coughed up 800 W-2s. I'm obviously not going to tell you who that was. But the very small nuances in the email were just like an extra letter. So if the last name had an L in it, they would add like an extra L. And so I think it's just really important for everybody here to understand how vital it is that if you get one of these requests for confidential information, and it really and truly does appear to be from the chief executive of your company, find the chief executive of your company and make sure that you talk to them at a phone number that you know belongs to them, or in some cases, we've seen this information coughed up when they could have just gone down the hallway and talked to the individual that they believe that the email was coming from.
Right.
And then the one last question I had is, how important is it for us to really cover the camera lenses on our computers?
It depends upon the type of operating system you have. The newer, the more you need to cover it. I mean, I've done that. I've been, as a result of this job, I know that there's malware that can actually turn on a lot of your different cameras on your smartphones without you knowing it, without the light going on. So I keep a sticky note over my camera at home at all times, even though I know it's not turned on. Better safe than sorry. So what are the chances that somebody might be getting in there? Well, I'm pretty aware, and I have all my anti-malware on there, so the chances are small. But do I want to risk it? I don't want to risk it, so why not just put a sticky note over it, because that way I'm 100% sure that they aren't able to actually see what's going on in my room, or record, or actually live stream what's in your room. And that has happened a lot through code that's been put on people's computers through successful phishing attempts, live streaming what's in the room, and you have a lot of really creepy things going on with that, especially if you have your computer in your bedroom or someplace.
And then finally, I did want to remind people that if you encounter these bizarre phone calls, if you suspect a phishing attack, that can be very quickly reported to BBB Scam Tracker. So if you just remember those words, BBB Scam Tracker, you can Google that, and that allows you to report potential crimes or schemes real time, and they're posted real time. And if you go to BBB Scam Tracker, you can pull up all of the activity that's occurring in any marketplace around the country real time. So
Yeah, I love your website. So definitely go to their website. Plus, if you use Twitter, there's a lot of different BBB Twitter handles out there for each of your regions. So those are good to follow as well. So thank you very much. I'm happy to had a chance to talk with you today. Appreciate it.
Called Privacy Professor. She is just full of information and loves to share it with folks that are here. Yes, please use the resources at the Better Business Bureau. We are so fortunate in Harry. You run a great organization, put on events like this, to have a resource where we can call. We don't know what's happening. This is great for seniors and everybody. Out on your tables, please take and utilize and share this folder. It contains a copy of Ms. Herold's PowerPoint presentation for your reference, along with information about BBB's upcoming Superior ID Day on April 22nd, and BBB's 2017 Accredited Business Directory. Here, Business Directory. So if you're looking for a business thing, that's a place to look. In addition, there's some information about BBB's free customer tools
for both businesses and consumers and about BBB's integrity awards, which was fantastic. There's no greater honor for a business than to be recognized for having integrity. If your organization has been in business 3 years or more, you are eligible to submit an application. BBB would appreciate it if you could take a minute to fill out the survey as well. I know they use this information, we use it as part of different committees to create bigger, better programs. So please take a moment, fill it out, feedback is very important. Lastly, Rebecca, thank you so much for taking the drive here to Omaha. Thank you attendees for coming, and thanks again to BBB program partners, McKinnis, Great Western Bank, and the Omaha World Herald. We hope this presentation has been interesting and educational, and we hope you go out, be safe and secure, have a wonderful rest of the day. Again, let's give it up for